up here with function operations. And we have g of 4 plus h of negative 1. So I'm going to, if I have the number, what I'm going to do is evaluate. So I'm going to figure out, well, what is g of 4? So to figure out what g of 4 is, I'm going to go up to g, and instead of x, right, that's a 4. So I'm going to put a 4 in wherever I see an x. So that would be 4 squared plus 2 times 4 plus 1. And then you just do PEMDAS to simplify. So that would be 16 plus 8 plus 1. And so that would be 24 plus 1 is 25. So g of 4 is 25. And then now I need to figure out what h of negative 1 is. All right, so I'm going to go to h, and I'm going to put in negative 1 and for x. All right. And so I have 3. Instead of x, I'm going to put in a negative 1, and then I'm just writing it all out just like it was. Just instead of the x's, you have your negative 1s. So this would be 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. Bring down the minus 1, and then that would be negative 4. So now going back to my original problem, right, I have g of 4, so that was 25, plus h of negative 1, which is negative 4. And so what that equals is 21. All right, so remember, what comes out of a function is a number, and so you can add functions, you can add numbers together, so you can add functions together. Now I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm subtracting. All right, and actually something very big here is that there's no number. All right, that's g of x. Right, there's g of x inside and h of x. So my answer is going to have x's in it. Your answers always match the questions. All right, so just erase that. So now I've got g of x minus h of x. So I just substitute. What's g of x? G of x is over here. It was x squared plus 2x plus 1. I'm just substituting. I'm just replacing. Instead of g of x, I have this. All right? And then now I'm going to subtract, so I'm going to do minus. And since I'm subtracting, I have to make sure I distribute that minus, so I'm going to put parentheses. And then there's my h of x, so you just come up to where it's defined here, so that would be 3x minus 1. Okay? So now I'm going to distribute my x here, so I have x. This all stays the same. But now this is the opposite, so that would be a negative 3x and a positive 1. And then you always combine your like terms. Well, there's no other x squared, so that would be just x squared. But I do have a 2x and a minus 3x. So 2 minus 3 is negative 1x. All right? And I can write negative 1x, or I can just write negative x, which would be better. All right, the least you write, the better. The less confusing it is. And then now I've got a positive 1 and a positive 1, so that would be plus 2. All right, and that's your final answer right there. Okay, g of x minus h of x is equal to x squared minus x plus 2. All right. Now number 3, you are multiplying. All right. But again, your answer to your question is with x's, right? So your answers are with x's as well. So I'm going to take g of x times n of x, and you just substitute what you've got. Okay, so let me erase this stuff so I can see what g of x is. So g of x is x squared plus 2x plus 1. So you just substitute in x squared plus 2x plus 1. Okay, and I'm going to multiply that by m, which is over here. That's m. Okay, so that is going to be times So all of that times m, which is negative 4x squared. Okay. Well, and then I'm really happy because this right here is a monomial, so all I have to do is distribute that, all right, to everything inside there, and then that will be in combined like terms if I have any, but I probably won't. And so I've got negative 4 times 1, so that would be negative 4x squared times x squared is x, and then 2 plus 2 is 4, right? When you're multiplying, you add the exponents. And then I'm going to take negative 4 times positive 2, so that would be a negative 8. And then I'm going to take x squared, right, times x. So 2 plus 1 is 3, so that's x to the third. And then now I've got negative 4 times positive 1 here, so that is just a negative 4 and then x squared. Okay, and there's no like terms there, so that is my final answer. All right, that is what, if I go back up here and look at the question was, what is g of x times m of x, right? And that is this answer right here. Okay, my question had x's in it, and so my answers have x's in it. Okay, so now we come down to the next one. And I've got, again, I'm adding, all right, and my question has x's in, so my answer is going to have x's in it. So I've got m of x, so I'm just going to substitute in what m is. You just go back up to the top. M is negative 4x squared. Okay, I'm just replacing this with this. And then it says to add, so I'm going to put plus. I don't need parentheses because there's nothing to distribute when you're adding. And then I've got the 2, and it's stuck to this g of x, so that means times. And g of x is a trinomial, so I'm going to put all those terms inside my parentheses. Okay, so I have, this was 2 times g of x. All right, I just replaced g of x with that right there. And then the 2 is just the 2. Okay, so we're just rewriting the question and replacing the x's with the definitions from the top. Okay, and then now I just simplify. So I have, there's nothing you can do with this negative 4x, so I'll just write that again. So that's just negative 4x squared plus, and then now I'm going to distribute this 2. So that would be 2x squared plus 4x plus 2. All right, and then that is your final answer to this question up here. What's m of x plus 2 times g of x? It is that. All right, it's this right here. All right, now you have g of negative 3. So that means you're going to replace negative 3. I have a number, so my answer is going to be a number, and I'm just going to replace the 3 with the x, okay? Instead of g of x, it's g of negative 3. So wherever I'm just going to rewrite g, and wherever I see an x, I'm going to put a negative 3. So, where's g? Okay, so we have negative 3 squared plus 2, I'm looking at the top there, where g of x is defined, times negative 3, and then a plus 1. Okay. So notice I just put negative 3 where there was x's. Okay. And then you can type that in on your calculator. And if we do PEMDAS, we'll see that we get negative 3 squared is a positive 9. right? Because 3 times 3 is 9, and a negative times a negative is a positive. And then positive times, so that would be negative 6 plus 1. So 9 minus 6 is 3 plus 1, and so that gives me 4. So G of 3 equals 4. Okay? And remember, you can also check that on your calculator. If you do 3 store x, and then just type out what G of x was, and then you'll get your answer there. You'll see that that's a good way to check and make sure you get 4. Okay. So those we have one more here that is just where you're substituting in a b plus 3. All right, but you're just going to put that in where the x was, right? So we look at where m of x is, and we're just going to rewrite it as we're going to put the b plus 3 there, wherever we see the x. So m is negative 4, and now instead of x, I'm going to put in b plus 3, and then we'll square it. Okay? Now what you have to do is you're going to have to FOIL the b plus 3, all right, to see what that is. So you're going to have to take on the side, I'm going to do b plus 3 times b plus 3, all right, and you're going to multiply that times that, all right, so that would be b squared, b times b is b squared, and b times 3 is 3b, and then we go down and distribute this guy, and I get another 3b, right, this is the white outside, inside, and then now the last two gives me a 9. Okay, so, and then when you combine these like terms, I get b squared plus 6b, oops, that's a b, plus 9. So that is what is that, b plus 3 squared. So I have the negative 4, and I'm going to replace this b plus 3 squared, right? We're doing the exponents first. Make that into b squared plus 6b plus 9. And then I can distribute my 4 to everybody, and so that would be negative 4b squared. Negative 4 times positive 6 is negative 24b, and then a negative 4 times a 9 is a negative 36. All right, and that would be what m of b plus 3 is. That's your final answer. Notice my question had b's in it, so my answer has b's. Okay. The next ones are composite functions, so that'd be a different video. So these are functions of operations where you're adding and subtracting them and evaluating them. That's it. No worries. Good job.